read that off before we start reading the new chapter?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wandering Tavern. We're back after what, 3 weeks?
But yeah, about a month.
Yeah.
Oh, I think over a full month.
Apologies for that. I got sick, and then I met Caesar in real life and hung out with him for a weekend, and then I took a weekend to just relax after running myself ragged at work. So that happened. Now we are here, and we're back with Lily Orchard and her bad fan fiction.
All right. Last time, our heroes boarded a resistance base on their way to Maz's cantina. There, Poe is tended to, while Darth Amorosa and Rey have more time to bond. The two of them continue to act childishly for women their age, and Amorosa is now nervous around women, or she's nervous around the women she likes, despite the first chapter establishing that she is more than capable of talking women into having lesbian sex with her. Yeah. Ray learns that homosexuality exists and that the Hutts and other Outer Rim people are homophobic. However, Inner Rim people are just as bad because they discriminate against Amorosa for the color of her eyes. Because apparently everybody knows that having yellow or red eyes makes you a Sith. Yeah. And just as before, the romance between the two of them still sounds like a very corny anime rom com. I've noticed that someone in the comment section from our last video is just like, well, actually, Lily Orchard hates anime. So the joke you made about her using anime cliches flops. To which I then say, on the contrary, that just makes us even funnier. She hates anime, but writes it like it is anime. How ironic.
Indeed. By the way, those videos have actually blown up quite a bit, and we thank you all for those of you who have watched them and commented. That genuinely thank you so much.
Yes.
I was just expecting this to do mediocrely on our channel.
Well,
Well, I was expecting it
all we
to.
had to do is just put Lily Orchard in the title. Because that's the thing, man. A lot of people despise Lily Orchard. Even other leftoids hate Lily Orchard. Like I once looked up the name on YouTube and I saw like some noticeable leftist YouTubers like Xander Hall and Essence of Thought. They were making videos criticizing Lily Orchard. So like Lily Orchard is to SJWs what Ethan Ralph is to anti SJWs.
Ah,
Like you are so fucking deranged that even your own side just wants you to go away.
just please stop talking. By the way, the Andor series comes out in September, and I'm thinking that we'll probably do something on that.
Oh really?
Like do a whole breakdown and actually watch it.
The Adventures of Toast.
Yes.
Yes. He is one of the more interesting characters in Rogue One, but that is like saying that toast is more interesting than bread.
I mean, he's only interesting in like one scene. The rest of the movie he spends just running around after um uh fucking main character girl. Well, and pretends to have purpose. He's cool for like one scene, and that's where he shoots someone.
Yeah, that
To
was
be
actually a
fair,
really neat thing.
yeah, it was a really well put together scene, and then the rest of the movie just proceeds to go nowhere else. Like here's the climax of the film. Although, honestly, like even the Last Jedi, it looks awful in comparison to Rogue One. Rogue One looks so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Proof that you can throw money at something and make art. But anyway, we have, let's see, quite it looks like quite the long chapter to get through.
Oh boy, Then let's get started.
And then- okay, so this is somewhere like 3/4 of the way in, but this needs to be the first thing people see. Oh, hold on. I clicked the wrong button. Proper button. Just
Oh,
look,
that's
behold.
another thing. That's another thing I forgot to mention in the recap. Lily Orchard continues to make Kylo Ren look like a fool.
Not that the movies do a better job of it, but
Yeah, but Lily
it
indulges in it.
wasn't this bad.
Yeah, Lily tries to improve the movie in some places, but then indulges in some of the and just indulges in a lot of the weaker ones. Oh god.
Oop.
Well, it's at least better than the one we saw before where during their first lightsaber duel where one of her arms looked all shriveled up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, props to the artist for doing better.
So let's begin, shall we? General Organa. Leia turned and smiled at her longtime friend. You have something for me, Amy Lynn? Emmeline or Amy Lynn?
I thought it was Amelin.
Okay.
Maybe it is Amy Lynn.
I don't know. It had been several days since Poe had gone dark, and the mission to retrieve the last piece of the map had been classified as a failure strip. Oh, there's a period there. I missed that. Strangely, the First Order had total defeat on Jakku as an entire platoon of stormtroopers and starfighters had been completely obliterated. It seemed that Snoke had not yet managed to secure the map either, meaning it was still out there somewhere. Leia had been holding out hope for any scrap of news since then. Sorry about that. So this paragraph already has like problems, and there are story problems, not writing problems. Thank God. So the total defeat on Jakku happened a day ago, and hyperspace isn't. I mean, I guess if Lily's using the Disney Plus version of hyperspace, then it's just instantaneous teleportation. But if we're talking actual Star Wars hyperspace, it would take a while for them to find this because if there's supposed to be like a covert underground resistance, like the Republic's not funding them, then there's like layers and layers of security and protocol that needs to be moved through because the information doesn't just pass from guy in field to General Organa. It would go through various cells in order to stay covert.
I will till my dying breath. I will continuously say that it's so fucking dumb that it's not just the Republic's military that's fighting the First Order.
Yeah, I mean, yes,
It
obviously.
has to be because you have to hit that fucking reset button. You have to hit the fucking reset button. It can't just be like two governments fighting each other. No, it has to be a rebel group. Since the last guys were called the Rebel Alliance, we'll call them the Resistance, which means the same thing as rebellion, but it sounds different. It's so dumb. Apparently they're not even officially affiliated with the New Republic. Like, why the fuck doesn't the New Republic have a military?
Good question. Yes, but it's odd, Amelin winced. Poe Dameron was dropped off at a safe house. He was in an induced coma and recovering from several injuries. Leia's eyebrows rose as she leaned closer to Emlyn and her attention fully on the other woman. Okay, this doesn't need to be there. We can already guess that her attention is very rapt. Like, the fact that we know she's holding on to any hope, like she's holding out hope for any scrap of news, And then she leans closer her to Emlyn. We don't need her this sentence here. We can already put it together. What happened? Did he have the map with him? Emlyn shook her head. He's still not awake, and the map wasn't on him. What's strange is the woman who dropped him off. What about her? Leia asked. None of their forces reported locating or rescuing Poe from the compromised mission. As such, she could only assume he was rescued by a friendly third party. She was a Sith Lord, and one who's been making rounds in the Outer Rim before. The only name I could pull up was Darth Amarosa.
How do you know about this?
How do how do you yes. Like so Amarosa and her family have basically spent the better part of a millennium hiding from both the Sith and the Jedi. And for whatever reason, of all the people that would know about her, the Resistance does. Because she's worked with them. But why would she, why in any, why in any realm of existence would she give them her real Sith name?
And why the fuck would you work with her? Remember how you guys spent about 20 years trying to overthrow an empire run by the Sith?
Only to have that same Sith Lord come back as if he wasn't defeated in the first place, like the second in his second more powerful form. Someone play the Sephiroth sting over Palpatine's reveal. It would be so appropriate. Leia's eyes widened as her blood ran cold. The Sith Lord was back? They had indeed encountered her in the Outer Rim and pursued her for a solid month before they lost her. The failure to catch the Sith or provide evidence of her existence lost the Resistance a fair amount of support from the Republic. Leia considered that Sith is the first major failure of the Resistance's existence. Wow, Leia. You've been in charge of this thing for maybe it's hard because the movies don't give us a solid timeline for anything. Leia could have been in charge of this resistance from oh, hit button on my keyboard, sorry. Leia could have been in charge of this resistance from the beginning, and she already considers it a failure. Like the first major failure. Or implying that she thinks there are further major failures. Amarosa, Leia said with a groan, I knew that Sith would come back. But why would she bring Poe back to us? I don't know. Amelin shook her head, but Paige mentioned some in her report that she did surrender her lightsaber while on the station and retrieved it when she left, and that they had no complaints about the Sith while she was there. She was also accompanied by a girl who we think might be her apprentice. Leia's frown deepened. Having a Sith involved in one of their most critical missions was bad enough,
Okay,
but
okay. So they knew she was a Sith. So did they know that this was Darth Amarosa, the Sith they were trying to chase before? And
I guess,
if she surrendered her lightsaber, just gun the bitch down.
or arrest her.
Like, yeah, force
Like,
sensitive force sensitive people can only hold back so many laser blasts before they finally get shot.
and then you chased her for a solid month, and this can't be like Leia and her ship chasing. Like, in what way were you chasing her? Were you chasing her through various agents and and cells in your resistance, or were you actually like physically chasing her ship for a month? You wasted like a solid month on pursuing this woman and like burned your resources for it when you have the First Order knocking at your door building a giant planet killing death weapon. No wonder the Resistance didn't find out about the death weapon. They were too busy tracking down Omarosa, the Sith Lord. The Sith Lord. The general knew they couldn't trust Omarosa no matter what, but whatever game she was playing seemed to be working in their favor. For the moment at least, perhaps they could benefit from the Sith's involvement, so long as he shot the first before the inevitable betrayal. Wow. I mean, I guess that's a good way to look at it if you are 100% sure you're dealing with a Sith, but really you could all just walk away from this and be like, look, we work together, we've achieved our mutual goal, let's just walk away. You don't have to assume she's going to betray you. She was flying the same ship as before, yes? Did you get her comm channel? Yes, but not entirely willingly. Paige had slicers get every identifier for the ship possible. If you wanted to contact her, we can get a clear signal in. Hold up. So, they land at this cell. They drop Poe off, and they leave. I think like that's what happened, right? They land, they drop Poe off, they do like have like a short conversation, and they leave. This cannot have taken more than maybe 15 minutes. So you're telling me that at that the leader of this base had got into the ship, and were able to slice their way into just about every system this ship had in 15 minutes, and then leave without the protocol droid that we know wanders the ship and was probably cleaning something, finding them and having an issue with them being there.
I think in the last chapter they did actually hide him in storage.
Leia gave it a moment of thought. It was highly likely that the Sith was expecting them to hail her immediately. She did not like the idea of playing into her hands. Let's wait for Poe to come to. See what he can tell us. See if he can tell us anything about the Sith before we contact her. I want to make sure she's not the reason he's in that coma. I'll get someone to monitor his revival. We should be able to get something from him within an hour. Good, Leia says, turning back to the displays on her holo terminal. She didn't like this one bit. Her son was bad enough, but a renegade Sith, if there was ever a time she needed Luke, now was certainly it.
He's too busy whipping himself in the back for existing.
Yeah. My lord, Hux announced as he entered Kylo Ren's chambers. I have good news. Kylo turned ever so slightly to acknowledge the general. Speak then. We've tracked the Sith to a planetless star a few dozen light years out from Jakku. Long-range sensors show that she's stopped to collect fuel from the star and has been hovering for several hours. We don't currently know if an intercept is possible, as the ship's fuel capacity is not yet known to us. But for the time being, we have her on our sensors, and she appears to have a passenger. Oh, wow. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot to unpack. There's so much in this one little chunk of dialogue. Okay, so the First Order have somehow tracked Amarosa's ship, which we know that they don't have. I mean, if this takes place, but during the Force Awakens, we can assume that they probably have the light speed tracking technology, which fine. But you have long range sensors that tell you precisely what and where, precisely what someone is doing, and at that moment, like just at that moment, at that very moment, basically looking, your long range scanners tell you exactly why she's in that planetless star system. Then you just are like, oh, we don't know the ship's fuel capacity, so we don't know if we can intercept her. Despite the fact that you could probably look at the hyperspace lanes coming out of that system and calculate the one that's most likely. And then you have your sensors are also able to scan the ship thoroughly enough to determine the number of life forms aboard. Hello, Legacy. Yes, more cringe. How? Like, if you're not in the same planetless star system as her ship, as Amarosa's ship, how are you getting life form readings? Wouldn't your life form readings ping hot off like any planet that was populated or even mildly inhabited? It doesn't necessarily even have to be sentient life. If your scanners are that precise, I don't believe you. Kylo's brain racked with the information. If the scanners picked up another life form reading, then the traitor is with them. And Kylo deduced, now facing Hux completely. They have the droid on that ship. Keep them under surveillance and let me know the moment they make a move. Hux hesitated and looked away from Kylo Ren. Actually, my lord, the only droid scanners detect on that ship is a protocol droid, just as ancient as the ship itself. Well, and the passenger is a human female seen fleeing Jakku with the traitor. How do you have this much information?
Yeah, how do you know
From
the droid is old?
From a scanner. Like, not we our spy informed us of this when they dropped the Poe off at the resistance base. And if you have this detailed of scanning technology that you can determine at distance that the passenger is a human female that was on Jakku, then how have you not wiped the resistance from the galaxy? There would be no way for them to hide, nowhere they could run. And if your scanning technology is this precise and this accurate, like, you could literally chart where a ship was at distance and just be like, oh, look, they stopped at this planet, this planet, this planet, and this planet. Well, that planet's super populated, so they probably have a cell there. So let's go there and start wrecking shit. So let's crack down there. Just crack down on all 4 planets. We'll get them eventually. And then send like a fleet and cover all send like 2 fleets and cover all the hyperspace lanes they're in. They could travel on currently. Boom, resistance gone, republic falls, first order reigns. The fuck? All because we have magic scanners that can detect the gender of a person and their past and the last time they were seen by your faction. What a ridiculous writing. Like, yes, Kylo Ren needs to find like the only reason I could think this whole thing happens is because Kylo Ren needs to confront Omarosa again. That is his motivation at this point. So the plot basically gives the First Order magic scanners and says, "Yes, don't look too deep into it." Just as Ren's thought processes were picking up steam, it stopped dead in its tracks. Another human involved? A female? Why was this female not included in the captain's report? The captain felt it inconsequential. Oh, Captain Phasma. Okay. I'm glad to see we're giving her as much screen time as she got in the sequel trilogy. Um okay, so the magic scanners are still magical. Okay. Huck said, displeasure laced in his voice as well. He has been reprimand. Oh, so it's not Captain Phasma. This is just a random captain. The droid escaped Jakku with the traitor and human in one ship and the Sith in another. At some point, the humans swapped ships and the other ship is yet to be recovered. How do you know? How do you know all this? Is Hux psychic? Like, does Hux have the Force? Can Hux be like? Is Hux secretly Emperor Palpatine? Ren clenched his fist and began to seethe. He knew the Sith was involved in all this. Why distance herself from the droid when he must have known how important it was? Why take this other woman into her own ship? Why was she trying to cut her losses and run away? No, that couldn't be. What was the Sith planning? Oh, I misread that. Okay. It's not why, it's was. Like, his gloves hid the white in his knuckles from how hard he was clenching his fists. Okay, why not just say his gloves creaked as the leather of his gloves creaked as he he clenched his fists. After a moment of frustrated speculation, he came to an epiphany. She's taken this female as her apprentice, he said aloud. She distanced herself from the droid in hopes that we would follow it and allow them to train in peace. My lord? Hux asked, looking confused. Ren turned around and faced the general, which turned out to be a pretty useless gesture overall, since his face was still covered by his.
Why would you? What's the point of writing that?
Yeah, like
Ugh, it's excess.
it's not excess. It's like writer commentary.
It's like it's an attempt at trying to be funny.
Yeah, but it's such a weird meta way of doing it that suddenly you're just any atmosphere this story would have built to this point is now gone. Like your immersion is broken. And
So
it's
wait,
like it's
and
go ahead.
why is it? Why is it a useless gesture though? He's still facing him with the mask on. He's turning around to face the general.
I also thought he was already facing him. Like, didn't he turn around earlier?
Okay, so abandon the droid and
Now,
the traitor and track the Sith.
now facing Hux completely. He already turned. So
Okay.
no. So okay. So Kylo Ren, in the course of this conversation, has faced. So hold on. Let me find it. Yeah, here it is. So when he thinks, uh, when he thinks Finn is with them, he faces Hux. Then he turns around and faces him again. So Kylo Ren just fucking did a twirl. Like just purely for the drama of the moment, Lily Pete has made Kylo Ren fucking twirl. Just facing you. Facing you again, only more dramatic. Abandon the droid and the traitor and track the Sith. My lord, the Supreme Leader wanted the map to destroy Skywalker and prevent the Jedi from returning. The Sith are an equal, if not greater, priority. A Jedi has a code of ethics that makes them easy to manipulate and work around. A Sith has no such restraint. Track them and do not let them out of your sight.
Well, apparently Kylo has a better understanding of the Sith than the writer does.
I guess. But how would he know this?
And why are they giving up their search for Luke Skywalker? That's like, isn't that Kylo Ren's biggest obsession is trying to hunt him down?
No, remember he was beaten by a woman. Now he has to prove himself as a man by beating her up.
Ah.
At least in Lily Pete's world. Oops, I just misgendered him. I did it again. I'm so bad today. I'm being so mean. I'm clearly, my transphobia is showing through.
I mean, you're gay, so you get a pass.
Hux bit back any words of protest he might have had, straightening his posture slightly. Yes, my lord, he said almost curtly. You know what I'm missing from this interaction? That that The Force Awakens really sort of nailed is that clear animosity between Hux and Ren. Like, this is Hux from the end of The Last Jedi, where he's basically been made to be a bitch to Kylo and Snoke. Oh, like, where's the animosity? Where's the people that are clearly of equal rank? The two officers of clearly equal rank fighting with each other. As the door closed behind him, Ren turned back to the helmet. Only 72 hours ago. Oh, they were under the impression that the Sith were extinct and the Jedi on the brink. Now, not only had the Sith proven to still be active, but one girl had managed to completely upend the First Order's mission and present an even more dangerous threat. As much as he wanted to believe in his own strength, there was no avoiding the truth. If the Resistance has somehow recruited both the Jedi and the Sith, nothing would stop them. What madness is this? Okay, so 72 hours. Acceptable. What on earth are you talking about? Are you not the Sith? The Jedi working with the Sith would be an event rare enough to note in most circumstances. Like it was rare enough that it's there's only a few instances of it. Like a couple of times the Jedi and Sith have worked together to destroy an oncoming threat. As much as he wanted to okay, yeah. Kid, I need your help up here. Han called from the pilot seat of the Falcon. They'd been in hyperspace for 2 days and had been taking it in shifts to keep the ship on course. Chewie had slumped off to the bunks to get some rest, leaving Han to fly alone for several hours, whereas while Finn and BB-8 worked on repairs to the ship. The Falcon had spent too long rusting in the desert. The constant sandstorms of Jakku had done a lot of damage to the internal systems. The Falcon could still fly, but there would need to be more intensive maintenance soon if he and Chewie wanted to keep it. Finn looked up from under the floor as he heard Han calling up for him, and briskly made his way to the cockpit. On the way there, he had a brief moment to consider how insane his situation had become. Okay, why is Finn being left alone to do repairs?
I guess they don't know he's a stormtrooper.
No, I feel like that in the movie there's a scene where Rey's fixing the Falcon. He hands her a tool. She hands it back to him, says, "That's not what I was looking for," in a really like catty way, and moves on because Finn doesn't know how to fix anything. So why is Finn doing repairs? He knew that his life outside the First Order wouldn't be easy as he was branded a traitor for life. Still, he had operated under the belief that he would simply have to keep moving and keep his head down wherever he went. He didn't think he'd jump ship straight to into the Resistance. Never mind. The past 2 days had him considering what his options could be once they landed on Takanda. Would he be able to board a shuttle to nowhere and disappear discreetly? Time would tell. He didn't have long to continue pondering on it before he reached the cockpit. What do you need? He asked, sitting down in the co-pilot seat. Take control of the helm of the ship and keep the ship on course while I try to get the shield generator back online. He turned his attention to the control panel on the left. Finn took controls and made the necessary course corrections. So we're just ignoring the movie at the fact that Finn needed a Poe to fly him out of the base, the starship. Like, that Finn didn't know how to fly anything. Finn's not a pilot. It was mundane enough to allow his mind to continue to wander. He'd originally thought about fleeing to the Outer Rim, but the closer he got to anything affiliated with the Resistance, the less likely that would be. Part of him wondered if Rey would think any less of him for wishing to flee. The thought caused a knot to twist in his stomach. They didn't know each other for very long, but a part of him didn't want to let her down. Yes, you can't let down Mary Sue. Her wrath is unspeakable and infinite. Actually, honestly, Finn's sort of becoming a Mary Sue here slowly and steadily because he's now got the ability to fix a ship, which he didn't before, and then piloting, knows how to pilot and course correct and do necessary course corrections in hyperspace. But yeah, we have to fear the vagina carrying Mary Sue because she will destroy us all. He shook his head of those thoughts. After what happened with Poe, his defection caused enough problems for everyone. The sooner he disappeared, the better off everyone would be. So tell me, kid, are either of you going to come clean to your friend? Han asked as he tried in vain to fix the shield generator. Finn snapped out of his inner thoughts to look at Han. What do you mean? Finn asked, praying he didn't hear him right. Come on, kid. I fought the Empire. I know the walk of a stormtrooper when I see one. Are you and Aliana ever going to come clean to to the girl about who you both really are?
Does Han know that Finn defected?
Probably.
Okay, because that's really fucking stupid to just outright tell him, like, yeah, I know who you guys are. Because then Finn's just like, all right, I'm going to shoot you in your sleep.
Yeah, I mean, Han is probably pretty sure, or all things considered, when like Han's probably pretty sure that Finn has defected by this point. Apparently they've spent 72 hours together, so he had the opportunity to like sabotage something or redirect something, which he would have to have the sort of training he needed for sort of training necessary to do that, so he could, escape or take over a ship and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of silly. Finn slumped in the pilot seat as Han spoke. He considered what his answer would be before another question took the forefront of his mind. Wait, Aliana? What secret is she keeping? Oh, kid, you really are dense, aren't you? Han whistled. The lightsaber and the spooky eyes, she's a Sith Lord. What? Finn said, shooting straight up from his chair. A Sith? We left Rey alone with a Sith? Finn, how do you know what a Sith is? How does anyone know what a Sith is other than Han? And even Han like had his doubts about the Force and all that stuff. Even at the end of the movies. Like it's such a weird thing. Han Solo was very much not someone that necessarily believed the Force was real at the end of the Last Jedi. Not the Last Jedi. At the end of the Return of the Jedi. Like he understands Luke is very skilled and very powerful, but why does he know? Well, he didn't necessarily believe in the Force in the end.
I mean, presumably he'd figure it out later on.
Yeah.
I mean, even in The Force Awakens, he does tell Rey and Finn that, yeah, the Force is real.
Han gave him a deadpan glare. Okay, I shouldn't really talk, conceded, sinking back into his chair. I don't know why I didn't see it. It was staring me right in the face. What? What do you mean? What do you mean you shouldn't talk? You're a soldier. Like, at worst, you are a grunt in the military. Finn. You don't, like, you are nothing compared to a fully fledged Sith warrior. Like in almost any form of Star Wars media, it's very clear the Sith are few in number, but hold devastating power beyond of power for destruction, beyond what a normal run of the mill boots on the ground soldier is capable of.
Yeah, well, this isn't the Sith we're familiar with.
Oh yeah.
This is a whole other Sith that's just been there the whole time in secrecy, but not really secrecy.
They've been they're an open secret. Yeah, that girl's a terrible liar. Han huffed, pulling on another lever and smiling as the shield generator came online. Even if she hadn't gone full Sith when we boarded, it would have been obvious to anyone. Finn's brow furrowed as he thought, letting continue to rack his brain. But we can trust her. I mean, she's been pretty helpful since I met her. She's clearly not with the First Order. What's her deal? Probably the same as yours and everyone else's, Han said as he returned his focus to the pilot's controls. Just trying to survive in a galaxy at war. I don't know her whole story, but whatever it is it had something in it that made her uninterested in joining the First Order. And according to rumors flying around the comm channel, well, she wiped out an entire platoon of stormtroopers on Jakku. So this is just news.
Okay,
It's
so
news that some unknown force wiped out an entire group of First Order or stormtroopers.
if Han is familiar with the Sith, then he should know that the Sith do more than just try to survive.
I mean, you missed Kylo Ren doing a twirl, Joe Crazy. That's probably the stupidest thing. Like, yeah, that's probably the stupidest thing we've encountered so far. That and First Order scanning technology is effectively like casting the scry spell, well, that without the opponent being able to do a wisdom saving throw. So effectively, just I can peek in on you and know exactly where you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. But it extends further. I can also see where you've been. Da, da, da. Also, the First Order is implied in the. So why isn't the Republic fighting the First Order? The Force Awakens sort of implies that the First Order isn't very widely known, which kind of doesn't make sense within the context of the film. But regardless, this like the
It,
First Order isn't widely known. The Republic, like it implies that the Republic doesn't necessarily believe the First Order is a threat. It's why Leia
it
had to
shouldn't
form the
matter. It's an
Resistance.
Imperial remnant. Yeah, I think after years of, I mean, the New Republic's government, that they would be the Rebel Alliance, or they were the Rebel Alliance. So they hear that there's an Imperial remnant. They're like, no, we're gonna take those fuckers out. But nah, they're
But
not a
nah.
threat. We'll just leave them be without even at least checking on them.
For yeah, because there would be no reason to have a military force, or at least a defensive military force, in a galaxy full of space monsters, pirates, th- you know, things that and criminals. Yeah, yeah. Having a military force that would patrol these things and do that and cut down on that sort of thing, that would be ridiculous.
I mean, the prequels had somewhat of an excuse because the Jedi were the military to an extent up until Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, and then the Republic and like the Republic also had its own military forces. Just it wasn't a standing army. It was likely a group. It was likely probably a large portion of volunteers from various planets
Yeah, and
or
so
various planetary militaries.
And so yeah, the Rebel Alliance spent 20 years fighting the Empire. They overthrew the Empire. Now they are the government of the New Republic, and they also fought Imperial remnants after taking over Coruscant. So yeah, you'd think they'd still have an army after that. Nah, it'll be fine.
And then so it's just regular gossip that someone wiped out an entire platoon of stormtroopers. Something Yoda and 3 clones did. And it was very notable that they did that. Finn sucked air through his teeth. If he didn't make the call he made when he made it, what? If he didn't make the call he made when he made it, he might have been on the receiving end of Aliana's wrath. What a clunky sentence. Suddenly, any reservations he had about his defection had all but vanished. I'll have to ask her about this when we get touchdown. Well, whatever you do, don't tell the girl. The Sith has a thing for her, and that's something she needs to tell her herself. Wait, she does? Finn asked incredulously. If Finn understood droid speak, he would have heard BB-8 say something along the lines of course she does. Even I know just that. Whose head are we in?
I think this is just the narrator itself.
Yeah, but we've been largely experiencing things from Finn's point of view. Like we don't hear what Han's thinking, or like we see what Han's doing, but we don't hear what his internal monologue. Okay, but suddenly Finn either understands that he doesn't understand droid speak, and so he just internally senses that BB-8 is laughing at him effectively, or the narrator has the writer has broken into the narrative once again to add a commentary. Yeah, said as much yourself. I can see why she wouldn't want to tell girl right away, so it's probably best you let her decide when to do that. Uh, Finn slept down in the pilot seat. Well, all right, but if she's going to hold back on her secret, so can I, he said almost defensively. Han couldn't help but laugh. Kid, it's not a competition, and even if it were, let me tell you something. You don't want to be the last person to give someone honesty. Ever. Fair enough. I guess that's something of a wise line. It's just a weirdly written one. Finn sighed and nodded. Yeah, you're probably right. Han seems to be as wise as he was grumpy. Which I really wish was the Han Solo we got in The Force Awakens. He has his moments, but he should be a wise grumpy man. Like that would be fitting as as old Solo. Which was to say very. Oh, ugh. Finn knew he at least owed Rey the truth before he disappeared. He just hoped the last memory he had of her wasn't one of disgust or betrayal. Then something clicked in his head. Wait, Aliana has a thing for Rey? Finn asked, looking confused. But she's a woman. Okay. Did they just keep you locked in a room for most of your life, he asked. More or less, answered Finn. Yes, Eliana has a thing for Rey. It's called being gay. Huh, Finn said, staring down at the controls before shrugging. Guess I have a lot more galaxy to explore than I thought. I'm older than I thought, and I'd live to be, and I'm still finding new things, Han said with a slight smile on his face. Like, what an odd thing. Like, I kind of get why Finn wouldn't have heard of it before, but still, it's such a weird way to bring it up. Like, it feels kind of stupid. Miss Beneko, well, I'm terribly sorry to interrupt, but there's an incoming transmission on your personal holo terminal, 2V said as she entered the cargo hold. Eliana looked up from the accelerator conduit she was trying to piece together and looking confused. How did someone get my personal holo channel? I'm sorry, Miss Beniko, but I do not have that information in my databanks. It's 2V said, hanging his head in shame. How's this? She said, turning to Ray and holding up the accelerator conduit. Ray narrowed her eyes at the conduit, looking at it carefully. Better than before, but wiring still needs to be closer together. They look like they're about to burst out of the shell. Ileana winced in as she set the conduit down and stood up. I'll give it another shot when I get back. 2V, reroute the call to my quarters. There's an erect privacy fields. At once, master. Once she was safely in her quarters, she was certain she wouldn't be heard. She activated the holo terminal. Well, this is Darth Amarosa of the Sith warship Fury. What? So she just flicks the holo terminal instead of seeing who the hell it is just be like, I am a Sith. But I'm not a Sith. Remember, you can't tell anyone I'm a Sith. She's a secret Sith, but everybody knows she's a Sith. Like, she's cool like that. The image of Leia appeared atop the holo terminal. Hello, Darth Amarosa. This is General Leia Organa of the Resistance. To what do I owe the pleasure, General? Eliana asked, tilting her head. And how did you get the frequencies for my personal holo channel? Our people are very resourceful, although it might have been something to do with how you docked at one of our safe houses to return a resistance fighter to us. A pilot by the name of Poe Dameron. I want to know what prompted you to do this for us. Okay. How is Eliana not super pissed that someone clearly hacked her ship? It was en route. It was en route. It was, Eliana said matter-of-factly. I was on Jakku when Dameron crashed into the dune. When he was recovering in my med bay when the First Order attacked the planet. Frankly, a lot happened on Jakku within just a few days. And why exactly did you decide to help one of ours rather than the First Order? As best as any of us can figure, you two would be perfect for each other. Eliana cocked an eyebrow. The First Order would try to kill me if I tried try to kill me if I tried to join up with them. She explained. I'm a Sith. I have alien ancestry, and I'm gay. Not exactly a winning combination for them. Especially not with that lunatic Jedi running the place. What? Okay. The Sith did not care who you screwed. At no point in any lore do I know of would a Sith give a shit.
Well, she's talking about the First Order.
True.
The First Order is since the First Order is an Imperial remnant, and the Empire is basically space Nazi Germany.
I mean, honestly, he like the Empire is very clearly it's somewhat of its own thing. Like it takes inspiration from um like Nazi Germany and like fascist Italy, and probably Tsarist, probably the USSR as well. But for the First Order is very clearly like just right wing neo Nazis.
Yeah. Also find it interesting that she'd bring up the part about her being part alien. We'll just ignore Grand Admiral Thrawn's existence.
Yeah. We're just going to ignore Thrawn's existence, the fact that in the ancient days of the Empire, or it didn't matter that you were an alien. Yes, you were looked down upon, but once you had the power, who the fuck cared? Or because you could slay all your enemies.
Well, like I said, we're not talking about the Sith Empire. We're talking about the Galactic Empire, and
Yeah,
to an extent, the First Order.
yeah.
But
Which was
even
very
then,
much
in the Galactic
anti.
Empire, in the Disney canon, we had the Inquisitors, and most of them were aliens. The Grand Inquisitor was an alien.
Yeah, like,
I don't think they would. I don't think they would care if you're the most powerful person in the First Order. They're not going to care what your race is or who you screw.
besides, the First Order in the Empire, it was very clear, like, oh, you fucked up? Dead.
I mean, hell, even Snoke himself looks ambiguously alien-like.
Who knows, Joe Crazy, but it's still weird that she has this. I lost my place. Hold on. But okay. Wasn't asking for your life story. What? What an odd line for Leia to say. The pilot was sent on a critical mission to gather important data. If you have any knowledge of this mission or the data you didn't share with Tico at the safe house, oh, was was Shrek at the safe house? Was that mentioned
Apparently,
in the last chapter?
uh, I don't remember. I know Holdo was there,
Ugh.
or at least it's implied to be Holdo.
I would ask that you give it to me. You mean the map? I don't have it. The map is in a droid named BB-8. He's on a Corellian YT model freighter with 2 humans and a Wookiee. We split up to make it harder for the First Order to track us while we take separate routes to our destination. And I can't disclose that destination over the ship's holocom, but rest assured, General, bringing the map to you is my #1 priority.
Why should Leia trust you? You're a Sith.
Yeah. Leia sighed and shook her head. A YT and a Wookiee, eh? I take it you've somehow managed to rope Han Solo and Chewbacca into this? Yes, Leia. Why is everything stated out loud? Why? Why? Show don't tell is like the first rule of writing. We could have a moment here where Leia uh is like wide-eyed and sort of has a moment of emotion, emotional reaction to that Aliana notices is when she mentions the YT freighter and the Wookiee, like that glimmer of hope that maybe her husband is coming back to her, or has finally gotten off his lazy ass and is going to protect the galaxy. Instead, it, with the proverbial thud it doesn't deserve, her we just A YT and a Wookiee, eh? I guess you somehow managed to rope Han Solo and Chewbacca into this. Their ship was on Jakku and was taken in the escape. Solo tracked it down and boarded it. I didn't rope anyone. And it was circumstance. No, it was coincidence. Even the movie is very, very blatant about that. It's absolutely fucking coincidence. Leia was quite quiet for a moment. Very well. So you two are rendezvousing. You two are to rendezvous at a location that you cannot disclose over comms. What's your next step when you arrive, so that the resistance can reach you? uh, she might be. And you know how we can check the tags? You know how we can find out? We can fucking check the tags. Let's see.
Oh no.
So let's see. Rey, original female character. Rey, original Sith character. There are no further pairings, which implies that it is not. That they are not in a relationship.
Ooh, anti-capitalism.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Anti-misogyny, too.
Oh no. Don't tell me Kylo Ren hates women.
BB-8 has already disclosed the coordinates to Dequar, I guess. The Fury and the Falcon are both hot, so we're going to put a renegade him a renegade stormtrooper and a scavenger from Jakku on a ship if that isn't on their radar and send them to you. Assuming everything goes off without a hitch, BB-8 should be in your hands within a few weeks. Eliana said, her hand absently fiddling with her lightsaber. She didn't like being on holocalls with generals, especially Jedi. Leia isn't a Jedi. She abandoned her training. Why? Uh, Damn, the Mary Sue virus works fast. Quick, we've got anyone Eliana interacts with, even mildly, becomes infected. Even holograms aren't safe. There was a slight narrowing in Leia's eyes as she retained eye contact through the hollow. As Eliana's gaze did not waver, she nodded. Very well, what are you and your apprentice going to do in the meantime? My apprentice? I have no apprentice. The woman that accompanied you to the safe house, traveling into whose is the general MO for the Sith. I mean, I guess? But more often than not, it would behoove them to travel separately to draw less attention to themselves. And the few times that the Sith were paired together, it was usually like at least involved with when it involved Master Sith apprentice pairings, something was either going very wrong or they were imparting a lesson, or in the case of Palpatine and Vader, when they get like stranded on a planet, Palpatine basically set the whole thing up as a test for Vader. So, their relationship isn't built upon like respect; it's built upon ambition and power seeking. But these are new Sith, so I guess that gets tossed out the window. She isn't my apprentice, though she is strong in the Force, Eliana explained. She's the scavenger I mentioned. In fact, both her and the Stormtrooper are strong in the Force. In the meantime, we're going to lay low until we can find a ship that isn't being tracked. I believe I may be the reason your mission has gotten so much more complicated, General. Actually, the mission was pretty complicated from the get-go. Oh, because Luke leaving a map behind is kind of weird in the first place. That sounds about right. 8. That sounds about right, Leia agreed. If there's one thing the Sith are good at, it's making things worse. You especially have a talent for being slippery. Leia's posture began to relax somewhat. All right then, we'll keep our scanners on looking for the Falcon, and I suppose I should thank you for bringing Poe back to us alive and mostly intact. He's one of our best pilots. Aliana bowed her head slightly. It was no trouble at all, General, and I'll have your droid to you within the coming weeks. May the Force serve you well. Well, Leia caught the Sith twist on the farewell and had to resist the urge to frown before the communication cut off. In her quarters, she leaned against the hollow terminal and sighed. I have a bad feeling about this.
Hey, she said the thing.
Ugh. Aliana left her quarters with a bad taste in her mouth and had a headache. Talking to Jedi was always an exercise in patience, as everything they said always carried an undercurrent of condescension. In what way was Leia condescending? Like a little snappish for at the end, but in what way was she condescending? As much as she understood why the average person would be distrustful of her, that understanding did not extend to to Jedi. Clearly, Leia was more devious than she looked. Even with the channel cut, her head wouldn't stop throbbing. Wait, that wasn't the Jedi. At least that wasn't that particular Jedi. 2V, roll the ship now, she screamed as she came tearing into the cockpit. 2V obeyed Aliana's command without hesitation and turned the controls hard, causing the Fury to spin on the starboard side and narrowly avoid a wave of turbo lasers that were fired at them. Oh, that was close, 2V exclaimed. Excellent call, Master. Spinning is always a good trick. Groan? Just that is a line that is used in this fan fiction.
I'm not even going to respond to that with a noise.
It's so. I wish I could do that thing that Mahler did in his Unbridled Rage for one of the Game of Thrones, where it's just like goes to black and white and he gets really serious, just like there comes a time in every piece of media. Aliana's instincts had been right. A star destroyer had pulled out of hyperspace and began firing a full barrage the moment they spotted the Fury. Glancing at the fuel display, the Fury had had enough for half the journey to Takonda. Okay. All right, so we're borrowing the fuel problem from The Last Jedi. That's probably the worst thing you could have borrowed from The Last Jedi. And how, pray tell, were your scanners not scanning, the hyperspace around you in order to determine to be alerted if something came out of hyperspace? It's not like you can stealth out of hyperspace either. Or like oh. Ray, can you get us close to the destroyer? If we don't take out those guns, we're sitting ducks, Aliana said, sitting in the captain's chair. Not a problem, Ray said, taking the pilot's seat on Aliana's right. All at the controls, he quickly spun the ship around and moved towards the destroyer, spinning and swerving past the hail of fire that was being shot at them. Go, Mary Sue's, go! My investment is so high. Were the situation not so tense, Rey would be surprised how precise her evasive maneuvers were. 2V opened fire on the turbo lasers as Rey passed them, making precise shots on every turret. Ileana had never truly appreciated having a droid for co-pilot, but now that in the face of the First Order cruisers, she was certainly grateful for 2V's processing speed. For an impromptu attack, things were going pretty well. And then they went not so well. You had it. Like, this paragraph is very well written for, if a bit mediocre. Or like, it explains how 2V's firing precise shots. It implies that Rey is tapping into her innate force abilities. He's he's by dodging and dipping and ducking. And we already know that Rey's Mary Sue powers have given her piloting, so we can let that go. But still, like, very well written paragraph. And now we ruined it because we threw a rock into the water. Yes, Tyrant King. Yes, she does. She heralds these. She's heralds this rewrite as Aliana being a good character.
A proper representation of the Sith.
Yeah. An ion shot from the cannon struck the Fury's main engine and brought the ship into a drift. The destroyer stopped firing once the Fury was disabled, and Ileana could see a small shuttlecraft leave the destroyer's hangar bay. This wasn't good. Rey, how fast can you get the thrusters back online? Rey frantically began tinkering with the controls. I can't guarantee I can do it before they can board us, but I'll try. She stood up from the pilot seat and ran as fast as she could to the engine room. 2V, stay on controls, please. Of course, Miss Rey. 2V answered almost too cheerfully. Please do your best to keep us from being destroyed. The shuttle passed overhead and docked with the ship. Taking a deep breath, Aliana got up and positioned herself to see the intruders, or rather, intruder. She groaned when she saw the docking port open and Kylo Ren stepped onto her ship. Aliana sneered at him in disgust. The stench of greasy Jedi would take months to get out now. I guess Jedi are just anyone that Aliana doesn't like, and since Aliana is a self-insert, hurt anyone Lily Pete doesn't like.
Oh fuck, man! I didn't know I was a Jedi. Sweet.
Yeah, I told you to keep away from my ship. It's your fault for getting involved in our affairs, Kylo responded, the filter in his mask causing an echo through the ship. You thought we would take the bait and leave you here to scheme your next move in peace, but I knew you were too dangerous to leave unchecked. Way to make Kylo Ren sound like a lunatic and not someone anticipating anticipating a threat. Like, he's like, "Ha, I got you. You thought I would leave you here to scheme, but in fact, I was retarded the whole time." That's right, Tyrant King. But you have to remember, these are the new Sith that have been around since the old Sith. But these are the new Sith, and they have their own code of morals and ethics that don't necessarily involve that effectively amount to she's living her best life, and how dare you attempt to label her more than she labels herself. Like, Aliana glanced towards the engine room, a very difficult decision before her. It would be easier to dispatch Kylo Ren with her lightsaber, but that would blow her cover to Rey. She'd been hoping to enjoy a few weeks on Takanda with both Rey and Finn before going back to her life alone in the Outer Rim. But now this Jedi had made those plans a lot more difficult to maintain. And yet you came here anyway. Quite foolish of you, Jedi. The last time I saw you, you fled with your tail between your legs. You were foolish enough to let me live, knowing I would return stronger. Kylo Ren countered, pacing around Aliana. And now you appear to have an apprentice aboard this ship. I wonder how she would feel about helping me kill her master and joining our cause. But Kylo wants to be powerful. At least I think he does. Kylo Ren's motivation is effectively up in the air in all three movies. So, you know, let's just for now assume that he's properly motivated. Rey, meanwhile, was frantically working over the engine. She could hear Ileana speaking to whoever boarded them, though she couldn't quite hear them over hectically removing and replacing pieces that were damaged by the ion surge. Luckily, Ileana was smart enough to know to keep spare power conduits close to the engine. On the flight deck, Ileana herself was livid. You lay a single hand on her, and I'll make sure you die screaming like a stuck Minoc. Y'all remember Minocs? She growled, her hands clenched tightly beside her and her eyes burning. Oh, by the way, apparently I'm a fucking prophet, by the way. Hey, because this episode, I don't, Caesar, have you seen the title of this episode?
Screaming like a struck Minoc.
No, our title. Like it's Lily Orchard Star Wars fan fiction chapter 5 references.
Ah.
Like I'm a fucking goddamn prophet. I demand my psychic powers are unrivaled in all the galaxy.
How many references have we gotten so far? Let's see. I have
At
a bad
least.
feeling about this.
Yeah.
Spinning's a neat trick.
Yep.
This one. What else was there?
There's probably been a couple more we're just passing over in our we're passing over. I think there was one pretty early on too. Joe Crazy is correct. Where exactly is the engine room located on this ship? So okay, so I guess this Lily and Kylo are on the I guess well, that's a fair assessment. Aliana and Kylo are on the flight deck, which the flight deck would be like if you've ever been on an aircraft carrier or had the chance to tour one, the flight deck is like the big flat area on top of the ship where jets take off. So I guess the flight deck would be the center of the ship. I don't know. It feels like Lily just googled googled ship pieces and chose flight deck out of a hat. The visceral rage and protectiveness radiating from Aliana does not escape Ren's notice. Aliana's power was only fueled by her passions, and her feelings for the scavenger were extremely strong. Any thoughts about recruiting the Sith died with this revelation. Now he was determined to kill her. Why? Because she likes some girl? Well, if Kylo Ren, you know, had if Kylo Ren wasn't, written terribly in all forms of media, he would actually use the Aliana's feelings for Rey and the fact that that Rey doesn't know Aliana's a Sith is to his advantage and like manipulate her and get her to do what he wants. Like a Sith or a villain. But no, Kylo Ren can't be intelligent because that would put an obstacle in Mary Sue's way, and Mary Sue can't have obstacles in her way. If it has a vagina, it has the power of the gods. Like, they're omniscient, omnipotent, like, we are vagina havers, and we roar and you submit because you are a man, I guess. So you're infatuated with the girl, Kylo Ren sneer. Now killing you almost seems like a mercy. That did it. That did it. Aliana threw her hand out and blasted Kylo Ren with lightning, who fumbled with his lightsaber to get the blade in the way to protect himself. Upon realizing he had his guard off, Aliana cut off her attack and cracked her knuckles. Well, come on then. I'll enjoy beating you into the dirt again. Kylo wasn't sure why Aliana didn't draw her lightsaber again, though he imagined it was just to mock him. Not wanting to waste the advantage, he lunged at her. His blade swung with the power of his festering hate and anger channeling through him. Aliana ducked down under the swing. On her return to her full height, she rammed her elbow into Kylo's unprotected ribs, sending him off balance again. Still as slow as ever, eh, Jedi? Ren bit back a growl and began punching himself in the sore spot that Aliana drove her elbow into. He used the pain to fuel his anger and turning to attack again. Despite his best efforts, all his blade was hitting was the durasteel of the surrounding walls. Aliana was effortlessly weaving around his lightsaber and getting a hit into a different pressure point each time. So, okay, and we've got the reference to the fact that Kylo hits himself over in The Force Awakens when he's fighting Finn. Like, he hits the blaster bolt from Chewie. And the fact that now Mary Sue, who number one, can beat him barehanded without any lightsaber, without drawing her lightsaber.
Yeah, the problem with this is that there's no tension. We already
Yeah,
know she can overpower him, so yeah, this action scene is kind of boring.
like, remember, Joe Crazy, she's had 72 hours with her. And you know, in romance, in modern romance, that's enough time to know that you're absolutely 100% in love. Sometimes you don't even need that. I mean, Rey fell for Kylo Ren in like a day. Also, Caesar is right. There's absolutely no tension in this fight. We already know Aliana's a better lightsaber wielder, or from their little scuff in their little dust up in chapter 2. So having her do this here is just clicking the win more button and saying, "Oh, my character's so badass and so powerful in the Force that she doesn't need a lightsaber to beat someone, and she can dip and she can dodge it all."
Yeah. So what made the lightsaber duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan, what made it such a good fight is that both of them were at equal strength. It could have been anyone's game.
Yeah, exactly. And then the and then Yoda's duel with Palpatine is very much that is also very good because it's like Palpatine beat Mace Windu, who by sheer effort made himself badass. Like, Mace Windu spends most of the prequel trilogy, like he fights Jango Fett and then he fights the Emperor. That's it. Those are his battles
Yeah,
um
and he would have
in
killed
the prequel
Palpatine if
trilogy.
Anakin didn't step in.
Oh yeah, he would have.
And
But
and so yeah, you have the probably the last surviving most powerful Jedi fighting the Lord of the Sith. So yeah, and it's a good fight because once again they're both equal in strength, and then Palpatine starts using his surroundings on Yoda, just flinging all those chairs at him.
it's because Palpatine realizes he that Yoda is an equivalent or better swordsman than himself.
Yeah, and going into the OT, the fight between Luke and Vader and Empire Strikes Back. There's a lot of tension in there. Luke is an underdog. He is very very inexperienced, and Vader's a master.
And it becomes very clear from the moment the fight begins that Luke is heavily outclassed. So
Yes,
now we have to wonder, is Luke going to die here?
yeah. And then Return of the Jedi, their rematch. Luke has much more experience, but even then, it's not like he's better than Vader.
Mm-mm.
Luke ultimately wins because he tapped into the dark side and then quickly held back out of fear that he'd just become the next Vader. Anyway,
Two things happened on Ren's next feeble attempt at a strike. Aliana caught his wrist and wrenched it to the point his lightsaber away from her, then stepped close and wrapped her fingers around his throat. And then Rey came out to see if she was all right. The screech of Kylo's lightsaber tearing into the walls and floor had gotten her worried. She came out to see Aliana strangling the Dark Jedi and holding his saber arm in a useless position. So, I have a question. How tall is Aliana? It's mentioned that Rey's probably about 6 feet.
yeah, I think the first artwork we saw, I think she was shorter than Rey.
Yeah, she is.
And Ray's
And
how tall is Ray compared to Kylo?
they're about equal height from what I remember.
I
Although
don't know.
I think Adam Driver is actually than her.
Maybe Kylo's just not standing up straight in that picture.
I guess, but still, like, is he on his knees? Is he like crouched down? Like mid fall? Like what?
And
Uh,
another thing, so it looks like she's choking him, right?
yeah,
But it looks like you know how Kylo has like the big mouthpiece. Ap- Apparently, it's a lot shorter in this one shot.
yeah, I guess so. Also, her hand looks like it has expanded to
Like,
fit around his neck.
yeah, and yeah, his yeah, he has the mouthpiece. It's like it's actually pretty long if you look at pictures of the mask. But in this one picture, it's conveniently shorter.
Was all Ray could say. Ren, desperately gasping for air, was trembling with panic. Turns his head and trembling with panic, turns his head to see the other woman standing just outside the corridor. Reaching out with the hand that, excuse me, was fruitlessly trying to extract Aliana's iron grip on his throat, he uses the force to send Ray flying through the air, hitting the metal wall on the floor or on the far end of the corridor hard. Aliana turned her head back in horror as she watched Ray crumple to the ground, owned in a heap. Ray! She screamed as she slammed Kylo Ren's head into the wall and pried his lightsaber from his hand before returning to her side. Ray, can you hear me? Ray's helmet was perhaps Ren's helmet was perhaps the only thing that kept Aliana from cracking his skull on the wall. His vision was speckled with dots, and his legs refused to hold his weight. With somehow less dignity than his previous defeat, he scrambled into the airlock as fast as he could to his shuttle. Whew.
Wow. I mean, so wait, is she holding his lightsaber right now?
I think so. I think she still has Ren's lightsaber.
Okay, if he has enough stability, he can just ignite the lightsaber and command it to cut Aliana in half.
I don't think he has enough of that. I want fucking cupcakes. I'm gonna DoorDash cupcakes. Don't judge me.
Are you having
Uh,
cravings?
um, I wouldn't call it cravings. I would probably call it munchies.
Well, that's what I meant.
Yes. Uh, but yeah, our antagonist in this novel, in this book about Star Wars, has now been defeated by our main character twice with minimal effort on their part. You know, when this happened in The Force Awakens, we brought up the idea that Rey was Mary Sue, and everybody was like, "Nah, nah, nah, she's not a Mary Sue." And then when The Last Jedi happened, we all pointed it out and was like, "Yeah, she's a Mary Sue." Like, we now have 2 movies worth of evidence, and people were still like, "Nah, man, she's not a Mary Sue." And now we have The Rise of Skywalker. Fucking search me as to why that's the title of that movie. Um but still, Rey is confirmed to Mary Sue. She fucking she brings Kylo Ren back from the dead.
Well, I guess to give the movie some credit, I did like the idea that she became very fearful of turning into Palpatine once she realized that he was her grandfather. So
Fair.
there was something. It wasn't great, but it was something. Apparently, Clayton has gone away to satisfy his munchies.
I'm still here. All right. Aliana glanced back, wanting to chase him down and end his miserable life, but Rey won out in the end. Won out, and she set Ren's lightsaber down as he gingerly picked up Rey and laid her head in her lap. "Rey, please say something," she whispered as her fingers ran over the back of Rey's head. There was some bruising and a minor fracture. She hoped everything inside her skull was unhurt. Rey groaned,
Yeah.
her eyes fluttering open to see two of Aliana and not much else through her blurry vision. "Oh, hey, Allie, did you get the idea of that invisible speeder that hit me?"
Ha 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 ha. She's stupid. She's like a stereotypical ditzy blonde girl.
"Did anyone get the idea of that bitch? 18. And that, children, is how you do that joke." The other option was, and the audience wonders if there was a funeral for comedy before this movie began. Aliana breathed one of the biggest sighs of relief she could and gently lifted Rey into her arms, carrying her to the med bay. "No, but the Dark Jedi is gone for now." Rey let out a small chuckle before wincing in pain. 2V poked his head into the med bay. Master, the engine is back online. Should we commence our with a hasty retreat? I worry the destroyer will send fighters at us once the shuttle is out of range. Hold on, Eliana said as she lay right down in bed, onto the bed. Making sure she would be okay, she returned to the cockpit. She Ren's shuttle speeding away. She sat down in the captain's chair and closed her eyes. Reaching out with the force, she could sense him in the shuttle. Humiliated and dazed from the fight, scared at how easily she had overtaken him without even drawing her lightsaber. Eliana fed on that fear. It was satisfying to know that this floundering dark Jedi was afraid of her. Mark my words, Jedi. The next time I see you, I'll kill you for that. I'm coming for you. Ren said nothing to the telepathic signal that Eliana put out, but she could tell the terror he was feeling had all but doubled from hearing it. The shuttle pulled away from the Fury and began flying off at top speed. Kylo Ren had made a grave mistake today. He'd gotten on the bad side of the Dark Lady of the Sith. Ugh. Okay. If you enjoyed, let's read the note, shall we? If you enjoyed this chapter, leave a comment explaining why. But I didn't. Should I leave a comment explaining why I didn't?
Well,
Free content thrives on interaction and feedback. Speaking of, remember to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes, but do you take actual criticism?
All right. Hey, creepy cosplay saved his life. See, unhealthily kidding your grandfather isn't weird, okay? It is. He just got lucky. Anyway, I love how Liliana still kicked his ass without a lightsaber. Kyle really just sucks, doesn't he?
Kyle Ben?
I guess. But no, that's just a terrible example of shitty writing.
Oh, no.
You forget her avatar in AO3 looks like this. It's mildly horrifying, isn't it?
Let's see. That was awesome. She was able to beat a Jedi, or rather a crappy mockery of one, with her bare hands. Also, is being gay just a crazy, unheard of thing in this universe? It seems like the only ones who weren't completely phased by it was Han and Leia. Rey spent her life isolated on one planet, and as such, there is a lot of about the galaxy she doesn't know. Finn was raised by the First Order, who are violently homophobic, and as such was not informed of their existence. It's not about being crazy unheard of. These two characters just don't know a lot about galactic society. I personally have only ever lived on one planet, and I know what homosexuality is.
But remember, the First Order are violently homophobic.
Okay, well, at least in LillyOrchards headcanon.
Kylo Ren, still a professional, useless piece of shit. Darth and Amuro, still a better protagonist than anyone in the canon sequels. Eh,
That's like, do I want to chop off my right leg or my left?
yeah, that is literally the best way to address this sentence. It's like, which limb do I prefer to be without? This story still got my attention riveted. I mean, mine too, but not for the same reasons. See, this is something that made me big mad in the sequel movies. Rey just sort of magically becomes a badass after living a life of starved poverty with no enemies beyond her beyond other downtrodden wretches. But Eliana is unambiguously and believably established as already strong at the start of the narrative. That's all it would have taken for me to like Rey as a protagonist. Disney, you'd better be taking notes. Okay, Omarosa's still a Mary Sue. The criticisms of Omarosa as a character are absolutely still valid and apply the same as they would to Rey.
I mean, to be fair, at least Amorosa had prior training. She was trained by her mother.
True.
She's part of a long lineage of Sith. So there's something. It's still shit, but there's something.
Mhm. Ahem. Anyway, thank you for this. The prose is awesome. The action fluid. Eh. The illustration's vivid. The illustration is like a 2 out of 3 at best. I guarantee if I went to Cedar and said, "Hey, here's something from this fan fiction, and I challenge you to draw it better," she probably would and could, but without changing the initial design to over much. It might actually be the only active fanfic on my subscription list right now. Have a good day. The Supreme Leader wanted the map to destroy Skywalker. Oh. Uh. Great chapter as usual. That's true. I guess if we really are starved for content after we're finished with this 45 chapter fic, we can always read My Immortal.
Oh god, what's that about?
Uh what it's about is, let's just say this is a few levels above it because it actually has a plot.
Okay, but what's it about?
That's a good question. Like it genuinely, that's a good question. I've seen readings of My Immortal on YouTube before, and asking what it's about is
Okay,
like
it's a
trying to open Pandora's box.
okay,
And
it's a Harry Potter fan fiction.
I mean, yes, but also no, but also yes.
Okay, it's got a TV tropes page. My Immortal by Tara Gillespie is an infamous Harry Potter fanfiction. Ebony Darkness, Dementia Raven. Ebony Darkness, Dementia Ravenway is a seventh-year Slytherin who's overwhelmingly beautiful, goth and goth, and has Draco Malfoy wrapped around her pale finger. Everywhere she goes, her fellow students are smitten by her hot gothic, so beautiful it's a cursed body. She's usually surrounded by her friends, Stannis goths. Okay, a goth is supposed to be like a goth, I assume, like
Yes.
slang for a goth. Uh,
I don't know.
so it's just super edgy Harry Potter fan fiction.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah, we need to read this sometime in the future. I'm intrigued.
Just when I thought I couldn't love Allie more, she's well trained enough to be capable of facing a force user with her bare hands. Evidence of that she really is basically either has mega plot armor or a plot armor a Terminator Space Marine would be jealous of, or she's a Mary Sue. I mean, pick one. Honestly, they're probably about the same. I mean, the basic. I'm gonna guess that the consistent theme is that she constantly gets praised for this fan fiction,
Well,
as if it's spreading.
we could always experiment. Leave a comment that actually criticizes. Well, don't like outright be mean in the criticism. Just say, hey, this works, this doesn't. You could do it better by changing this. Little things like that, and see how Lily reacts.
Fair enough. Maybe we'll try that next time.
Well, we'll have to do it on a more recent chapter. I don't know if Lily actually reads old comments or
True.
comments to old posts.
Actually, the AO3 might have a like look, a notification thing that'll notify her if we comment.
Yeah, just maybe just go by some made up name. Just she doesn't realize that we're from a podcast that's tearing her fan fiction a new asshole.
Yeah, we might have to do that in the future.
So I wonder if Lily will ever make a video about us. Like, this is a thing that happened recently on Smudcast. They did a response to a YouTuber called Pillar of Garbage. They responded to one of his videos, and then he made a whole video being butthurt about it.
I'm sure Lily will. If this ever gets back to her, I'm sure Lily will make a video about it and describe how we're just a bunch of and she won't actually acknowledge that, you know, she won't actually respond to any of our criticism.
We're neo-Nazis, right?
Yeah, we're evil.
Well, Clayton, you're gay, so you're going to be my shield. Yes. I'm going to strap you around my wrist and just hold you up.
Very well. She did take time in a video to respond to negative criticism from a later chapter. Damn. I kind of don't want to go through Lily Pete's video catalog just to find that clip. But part of me thinks we need to see that clip.
Mm-hmm. Maybe,
Anyway.
maybe next time.
Anyway, thank you all so much for joining us today. We will hopefully be back next week. But, you know, we're about as consistent as, I don't know, name something inconsistent.
The Star Wars sequel trilogy's writing.
Yeah. Yeah, we're about as consistent in the Star Wars as Kylo Ren's motivation. So, you know, it might be a while before you see us again. Hopefully, we'll be back next week.
Well, next week won't work out. I got stuff to do. Maybe week after.
Yeah. But we will be back eventually. And I hope you all will join us. Thank you all again for basically making these videos explode. I definitely didn't expect them to get as many views as they have.
Yeah. All we gotta do is do something that pleases the algorithm.
True. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Y'all have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, take care.